Lots of Nigerian business people, salespeople, and entrepreneurs are not aware of how the use of language or the use of words can set up expectations when talking to potential customers and potential clients. So, this is one of the things that we are going to be looking at today. Now, the reason why we're looking at that today is because in conversations that I've been having with some of my clients over the last week, it's something that we've been trying to tackle. And I figured, let me just come over here and share some of that goodness as well. Now, one of those words in particular is quotation. Now, lots of people don't realize that when you're having a conversation with a potential customer, a potential client, and you are based in an industry where things are subject to change, like FX, for instance, Forex. So you buy things from the original equipment manufacturer and your products are priced in dollars. It's not very feasible for you to give somebody a quote, today on the 1st of January, and then, maybe February 14th, the potential customer thinks that you're still going to honor that price, even though, things might have gone up or down. There might have been wars here or there that affect the cost of oil, that affect the cost of FX, that affect the cost of, different kinds of things. So, if you are someone in those kinds of industries, you want to be very careful before you tell somebody that you're giving them a quote or that you have issued a quotation. Because when people hear quotation, they have fixed expectations regarding price. Let me repeat. If I tell you that I've given you a quote, your own understanding is, oh yeah, that number is locked in. So even though you buzz me 3 weeks later, you expect that figure is good to go because I told you that now quote I issue you. So we should be careful. When people hear quotation, they have fixed expectations regarding price. Now, for my clients, what we've been working on changing, that's one client in particular in the solar space. In fact, I'm going to use a solar example. We've been trying to work on how, instead of saying quote, because any small thing they're on the phone, they'll say, oh, let me issue you a quote. I need blah, 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 so I can issue you a quote. I'm going to send you the quote tomorrow. I'm going to, every single time, quote, 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 quote. What people are hearing is fixed expectations regarding price. So we are now trying to switch things up and start saying estimates instead. When you hear estimate, ordinarily, estimate just means, a rough idea. It's not really set in stone. Just, take just for guidance. But it's not as if this thing is fixed. So you're having a conversation with a potential customer, telling them, I'm sending you a quote. It's not the same thing as telling them, I am sending you an estimate. Estimates can change. Estimates can be reviewed upwards. In fact, the customer, when they hear estimates, they are hoping that estimates can be reviewed downwards. But either way, when people hear estimate, they think, okay, this thing is subject to change. So for those of you who are in industries where, any small thing, American president invades Iran, then the cost of oil, then the cost of FX, all of a sudden, the things that you used to buy before at $8, you now be buying it at, $23. And of course, if you're buying at $23, there's no how that you can be selling at the old price because it's not going to make sense. Somebody will eat the loss, and it can't be you who is eating the loss. So, if you're in that kind of industry, and that's the reason why we're using solar, stop telling people quote, 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 quote. Say, no, now estimate and they give you. You talk to the person on the phone, oh, no problem, based on this, okay, I will give you estimate. So between this and this, that not the estimate. When we show on site and I look at one or two things, no problem, I feel issue you quote. But that initial number that you're throwing out, now estimate you the true. Not quotation, not quote, not invoice. Language can set expectations. All right? So now estimate will be the issue. Rough idea. That's what you're trying to give them. Now the time will come eventually for you to give a quote, but that is after you have done a thorough qualification and discovery, and you know that you're dealing with a serious person who has a need, who has a sense of urgency. They have a sense of timelines. They're getting ready to go. And no problem. You can give them quotes because you know that these people are likely to take action anytime soon. It's a good deal. But until you have done a thorough qualification and discovery process, you can't just be rushing and giving people quotes. Just tell them, sure, that's not a problem. I am willing to give you a couple of estimates. In fact, we can talk tomorrow morning, like about 10. I have about 3 estimates I'd like us to go over. How does that sound? So now estimate, you go to estimate them while you are doing discovery. Once you are done with discovery, you now know that this is a serious person. They have a want, they have a need, they can afford, they're interested, they have a timeline, they have a sense of urgency. Good. Bam, send them quotes. We can take it from there. Then also another thing that we're working on with this client that I'm currently working with is how we can introduce this whole thing of validity for the estimates, just to inject a sense of urgency into the process. Because when you say quotation, remember, when you say quotation, people assume that the price is fixed. You don't go change. And it's been leading to some absurd situations where you spoke to someone, 2-3 months ago, and the conversation stalled. You're talking now, and then you bring up some new figures, and they're like, but 2 months ago you told me that is 10.2 million now. Now you're saying 13 million. How? You see? Quotation versus estimate. And then also validity. So also something that some of you might want to take note of, for those of you who prices are subject to rising and falling depending on the cost of foreign exchange or the cost of oil or the cost of this or the cost of that. For those of us who are in consulting services, we don't have this problem because whether Donald Trump bombs the moon or not, has no effect on how much it is we're going to charge. But there are some people that are tied into news cycles, capital flows, foreign exchange rate, and commodity prices, and things like that. So these are people that have to take note. But either way, even for people in consulting circles, validity will even work. So, because it will make sense for you to talk to somebody in January, then the conversation stalls, and then because of Tinubu economy, you continue the conversation in August, and then they expect that they're going to pay the same price. Okay, yeah, so we should all be doing estimate validity. So the plan that we have with our people, and we're testing it, so I'll let you know how it goes. So we still try them. As we do it with clients, I'll let you know the updates, how that is working. But so far, what we're doing is we're working with 2 weeks just to inject urgency. So, Madam, Oga, no problem. We can give you an estimate. Here is the estimate 1, estimate 2, estimate 3. But, Oga, please note, these estimates are valid only for 2 weeks until so and so date. Are you good with that? They'll say yes. I say, okay, cool. Most of our happiest clients usually take about 2 to 3 days to look over these sorts of things. So would it make sense for us to continue the conversation on Tuesday? Let's see which of these estimates you are growing fond of. Something like that. You secure an advancement. So let us use a case study. And like I said today, the case study that we're going to use is solar. Precisely because the people that we're trying to work on some of these issues with are a solar company. But of course, I'm not going to use my client's real name. So now let's pretend that we have an entrepreneur based in Lagos, and his name is Chidi. And Chidi has a company called Bright Volt Solar. And Chidi has been having the situations where he's been talking with somebody, but by the time Chidi want to close, or by the time Chidi they do follow up, the customer will get angry because there's been price change. So let's say there's a situation where Chidi was talking to Mrs. Okoro, and he gave Mrs. Okoro a quote for 4.5 million. But that was just based on WhatsApp photos, because apparently in this industry, it seems okay that you guys talk over the phone, then you exchange some WhatsApp photos. You say, okay, based on this, it looks like he can take this panel, looks like he can take that panel, blah, 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 blah. And then, you give a quote before, before inspection. Mm-hmm. So let's say in this situation now that Chidi gave Mrs. Okoro a quote for 4.5. based on phone call and then based on WhatsApp photo. But then Chidi now show up on site. Then by the time Chidi climbed the roof now, look around, they say, oh boy, we suppose use reinforced mounting brackets here. Then, because of some things when we don't see in the picture, we will need like around that kind 20 meters extra cable. So because of that, this quote now, Mr. Okoro, this quote now, we don't review them. You go pay 4.9. Now, of course, in that kind of situation, Mrs. Okoro will be pissed. Like you told me 4.5. So now 4.5 where in my mind. Then all of a sudden 400k just entered the picture. From where? Should be pissed. Mad pissed. And that's because language has been setting the wrong expectations. When you tell Mrs. Okoro quotation, Mrs. Okoro thinks fixed price. That is her expectation. If you tell Mrs. Okoro, no problem now, more the yarn. Okay, based on WhatsApp, based on phone call, I think give you estimate. Estimate could be like around that kind of 4.5. If you tell somebody around that kind of 4.5, and then when you show tomorrow, it turns out to be 4.9, no be estimate. Now still estimate. It's not as if she'll be happy. Then that Nigerian thing, you bounce back and forth, you go the price ground not here and there. But at least if you tell somebody that 4.5 now estimate, no problem. The shock no go too much. But if you tell somebody, quote, as far as this person is concerned, price is fixed. 4.5 is 4.5. Which one are you telling me 4.9? That is not what you told me. That is not what you told me. Then quarrel go begin. Quarrel go not start. So this is what I recommend for Chidi or anybody in that kind of situation. At the initial stage, at the initial inquiry, where somebody refers you to Ms. Okoro or Mrs. Okoro got in touch with you at that initial toasting stage, excuse me, you can just say something like, okay, Mrs. Okoro, can I give you some estimates just to see if it fits your budget? Is that okay with you? Now, most people will say, yeah, sure, no problem. Let us see the estimate. Let me know self whether this is something I can proceed with or not. So excuse me. So excuse me about that. It's been a long day. I've made 2 podcast episodes today. Then I've also had 2 coaching calls. Sorry. Yeah, I really should come up with a voice care routine. Some people have been telling me I should be drinking okra. That is good for the voice. But another person said I should be eating snail. I guess it's time for me to try out those remedies and see how it works. Okay, so that's how you tell Mrs. Okoro, yeah, can I give you some estimates? I just want to see if it's your budget. I just want to be sure that we're in the right, correct range. Mr. Okoro will say, sure, no problem. Then that's where you now start talking about validity. You say, Madam Okoro, this estimate where they give you is valid just for 2 weeks. So now I told these people that I'm currently training, you don't just say 2 weeks. When we're talking sales, sometimes when it comes to expectations, we suppose make a concrete. So in this case, you don't just say, Mr. Okoro is valid for 2 weeks. You say, Mr. Okoro, these estimates I've given you are valid for 2 weeks until the 7th of May. You can see now, you have made it concrete. When you say valid for 2 weeks, 2 weeks, they far. 2 weeks is just something that's hanging in somebody's head. But if you say valid for 2 weeks until 7th of May, when I don't concretize them, you're setting some expectations down. Now, since we're talking about solar, where the price of things can go up depending on where Donald Trump decides to bump, or it can go down depending on where fiscal policy and one thing, and then foreign exchange, the price of dollar, this and this, price can go up or down. It would make sense to explain to Mr. Okoro in this case that, Mr. Okoro, these estimates I've given you are valid for 2 weeks until the 7th of May. The reason why is because, madam, you know that foreign exchange, dollar, big issue in Nigeria. And madam, I only deal with top-notch quality. I am buying direct from the OEM, from the original equipment manufacturer. I'm buying direct from the manufacturer, straight from Germany. Madam, you know that Germany, now them get correct products. Germany. Now them be the king and queen of manufacturing. And they buy from Germany direct. So, madam, I beg, no vex. 2 weeks, this estimate. Because any small thing, dollar go up, price go up. But of course, madam, sure you know that if dollar come down, price come down. She will laugh. You see, just small talk. Then you will now transition into getting an advancement. So you tell Madam Okoro that, you know what, I can issue you a final quote, but that will depend. We suppose come for site visit first. Let me come and see everything with my two koro eye, measure everything, Then that way I'll be able to give you a solid price that you can rely on. Okay, madam, how you see him? You're trying to get an advancement. You're trying to see if she's cool with that. Let's just assume that madam is cool with that. Then you now try and get an advancement. Advancement means you're trying to put something physical down on the calendar. Sorry, advancement really, what it really means is that you and the person that you're talking to, the potential customer, the potential clients, both of you are both mutually agreeing that this is the next step that we're both going to take to move this agenda forward. So remember, it is only an advancement when both of you agree. If you suggest something, but the other person says, well, let's see. Let's see is not an advancement. Let's see is me, I was proposing something. The person didn't come. The person just say, well, God willing. Anyway, Mosi. That's not an advancement. An advancement is you say Tuesday next week. Madam says, oh no, actually I'll be on the road on Tuesday. I'll be back in Lagos on Thursday. You say, fantastic. Thursday, my calendar is free. So for that Thursday, which one works for you? Morning, afternoon, or evening? So, because of school runs, this and this and that, I'll be back in the house around that kind 10. So, 10? Okay, so, madam, if I show up 10:30, would that be okay? 10:30 is perfect. That is an advancement. You were talking, Mrs. Okoro was talking, you people narrowed it down. Initially, you said Tuesday. She said no, Thursday. For Thursday, she said around that kind 10. You said, okay, madam, what about 10:30? She said, no problem. That is an advancement. And that is how we move deals forward. So, okay, no problem. So, these are the estimates, valid for 2 weeks. The site visit is going to be 2 weeks from now on Tuesday. 2 weeks from now did we say Thursday? On Thursday, 10:30 a.m. After that, I can give you a formal quote that is going to be locked in. But, Ms. Okoro, like I said, you know how this thing they happen now. We're only locking it in just for 1 month. So, this is how you're going to move the thing forward. But the main thing that I wanted to pass across today is we should be careful with our use of language, because it is setting wrong expectations in the customer's mind that is boxing us in later on and that is causing unnecessary quarrel. So, for those of you in the solar space, apart from solar, what again? Those of you in the export, yes, because my brother and I, we used to do export. This thing used to mess with us. You give somebody a quote, and then America will do this, America do that, next thing, bam, prices don't change. And then things are not in our favor. So that's the reason why export, solar, who again, all you people that import from China and Bangladesh, import from Germany, import from everywhere, don't be giving people quote again. When you say quote, the person thinks good, fixed price. That's the reason why they will talk to you in January. Then they'll call you up February 14th and say, well, I'm ready, I want to pay. And then people will now start quarreling that was January price. You say, what do you mean that was January price? This is what you told me. I went to gather myself and I'm now ready with 4.5. You're now telling me it's 4.9. How? So, no more quote. Okay? You tell them it's an estimate. When people hear estimate, they know it's rough idea. You give that estimate validity. You don't just say 2 weeks. You say this these estimates are valid for 2 weeks until December 21st. That is something concrete. Don't just say 2 weeks. 2 weeks always sounds in front. Nobody is really thinking like that. These quotes are valid for 2 weeks until March 23rd. Like that. So, Yeah, that's it. That's just what I want to talk about today. So let's be careful with our use of language before it puts us in a bind. So that is it. If you found anything useful in today's episode, if you've gotten value from today's episode, and you'd love to connect with me, you can call me, send me a text message or a WhatsApp message on 080-6466-2140. If you're interested in a 15-minute sale audit, you can WhatsApp me on the same number, 080-6466-2140. If you're shy and you just want to join my WhatsApp channel, that's not a problem. You can be there, get a load of all the updates, and then when you're brave enough, you can call me or you can send me a text message. So applying these principles can be tricky. If you need help, you want me to look at your particular circumstance, that's the reason why I give up my phone number. So get in touch and let's see if I can be of any help. So that's it for today. I'll catch you all some other time.